So 4 days ago, the coupled cache eviction from cache setting handler fixes. So it's just splitting the existing cache settings part handler into two different handlers. One that is responsible for the part itself, and one which is responsible for the cache invalidation, because the class had 2 different responsibilities. So he fixed that, or he changed that. And it should not change should not be a breaking change, because it's just moving some code in another handler, no service. So that's good. And use data provider and cookie expiration settings. So Matteo has improved the cookie management, the authentication cookie management with.
Are you sharing, Sebastian?
I am. Janos, can you see my screen? And I see, Daniel, that you can't see my screen. You're the only one.
I'll try to rejoin.
Okay. Yeah, this one is improvement on the authentication cookie. New cookie version. It's just being able to add more data to this cookie, which is still encrypted for security reasons. And to be able to define custom also expiration from the settings. So that's it. OrchardCore. Daniel is back, and Daniel cannot see the screen.
No, I can't.
Let me try.
Nothing to click. Oh, wait.
Share. Oh, it's come. It's me. Okay, I can see it. See. This thing is on now. Beautiful. So I will check out for next time, so I'm not too far away. So it's official. Jean-Thierry doesn't sleep anymore. It's just working on Orchard. You will see that. Crazy. So Jean-Thierry working on the branch circular dependencies. So he's fixing some circular dependencies in the modules. And every day he's doing something. Oh no, this one has been pretty stable, so maybe we should look at it. ViewComponents is a way to share ViewComponents across different modules. We already saw that, talk about it last week. This, I assume we talked about already, yes. Then I jump here. Jean-Thierry, this is in dev in msbuild script ignore resx files when managing assets files. So there was an issue with resx files when it was embedding the files. ThemeLayout in the context of render liquid tags. So there is a new PR, this one, which goal is to provide new Razor helpers and liquid helpers to customize the layout that you use when you render a view. So when we have a template view like a page, a content page, a content template, or a Razor view, you can, with this PR, redefine how you want to, what layout you want to use. So here you see there is a liquid tag layout 2, and this will actually add this. This is a shape in the end that will be used on the layout shape. So it will add an alternate to the layout from that. This way, from any template, you can decide which layout you want to use. This is much more flexible than having to create custom alternate providers for the layout. So from a template, you can say, no, use this layout. I know where I am. You can do test and conditions and then assign the layout. So this is, I assume, an example of layout 2 in the blog theme. You removed that after, I think so. And this is a new tag, and there is the same thing for Razor. Maybe we need to think about how we set it, but there is something for Razor to be able to change the current layout. So that's it. Then updating libraries I haven't merged, fixing a bug in SQL, and using the latest, I think, yes, the latest Gint, which also has, again, more better perf. Origin liquid, this is Jean-Thierry. This branch, again, from Jean-Thierry is to change the folder named content to wwwroot, okay, which is a default in an ASP.NET MVC app or ASP.NET app, to place the static files. So any modules that has a wwwroot folder, this folder will serve static files, okay, instead of the content folder. So it's just renaming where we place the static assets, and then all the current static assets are moved now to wwwroot folders. What is weird is that I don't see the other folders being removed. Oh, maybe they are there. Yes, they are there. Okay, good. pageFolder is a branch to allow Razor pages from a module to be prefixed by a custom prefix. So now you can say in your module that all the Razor pages can be accessed using a custom prefix like /my_module/ the Razor page name. So there is a new helper for that. Origin first login. This I don't understand. I will have to check. You just move that for some default value to be set in the input. I don't understand what it is about, so I have to check. This is Kevin updating OpenIDICT and doing lots of things for OpenID module. So here he updated the cancellation token usage. Apparently, I don't see anything here. Just made the cancellation token parameter optional in the manager's API. Okay. Yep, default values. So that's good. Dive into workflows, adding missing properties to OpenIdSteps. So now the recipe can add more things which are missing. Nick working on JSON API. Sipke working on workflows using SAS tokens. That's good. Jean-Thierry working on a fix for the localizers. Apparently, packages.modules. What is that? Portable object HTML. I have to check that. Update OrchardCore.Module.Targets.props. Okay, probably because some CSS/HTML were not taken into account. Don't remember the issue. Shell settings and JSON. This is Sipke trying to fix things which are actually completely broken. So we should look into that. There is an issue. Well, I commented on this PR, but you should find an issue to fix that. I don't really agree with how it's done. I think Nick changed it at some point. I didn't realize what he was doing, and I don't like where it's going. So we need to think about it. Shell settings with tenant, this is Sipke, same issue. Rename design to configuration. So this was merged. So now it's the more design in the menu. It's called configuration. Fluid query quit filter now passes object. So it was apparently passing arguments as fluid values instead of object. So that is fixed. The query filter will use the passing parameter to your parameters queries. Example, a query called content items has two parameters, content type and limit. Can be called like this. What did he do? Query blog post limit 5. Did I do that? That would be not surprising, but I don't remember I did that. Okay, well, I assume maybe I didn't do it. I want to know. That's good because it's necessary, but I don't remember. query filter. Okay, that's me. Oh, well, wait. Yep, okay. Nope, maybe not. I don't know. That's good. And that's good that it's documented because I didn't remember that the documentation is perfect here. And that makes things so much more useful to be able to pass parameters like this. That's good. Content type. Yep, okay. Perfect. So just, if you don't understand how cool this is, you define your query in the SQL editor, and this query can accept arguments. I showed that 2 weeks ago, I think, with the @ blog post and @ limit. And then when you're in LiquidValue, you can invoke this query and get the content items directly, or whatever projection you want on this SQL query. You see limit, and that's beautiful. Yep. So to create simple widgets, that's nice. Introduce built-in authorization support. What is that? Let me check. I approved the PR. I don't remember what it was. Authorization is submitting inside the database, submitting consent form. Yep, to persist the consent for authentication. So that's good. Permanent authorization, and this one I asked for a change. This one I think is interesting. There is a feature actually from this one that I discovered. Let me show you. The same site cookie option. So it's a new thing in the browser since last year. So now you can, when you create a cookie, the same site option in ASP.NET is strict or something like that by default. Here it's putting it to none, which means that by default, when you generate a cookie, the browser won't send it by default if you come from another site and you do a post request to your actual site where the cookie was generated. So this is to prevent cross-site scripting, no XSRF. So that's good. But in this case, it needs to enable to disable the same site security. So he has to put none in the case of OpenID. But that's fine. It's just in this case. There is no choice for this feature. So that's a feature I didn't know about, and I discovered with this PR. Questions? Daniel is typing. He's too shy to talk. That's sad. Buy a PC. Works fine for us. So demos. Sipke, you wanted to show something new?
Yeah, there's a few small new things, and there's a topic that we can discuss at the same time.
And when can I review it, test it, and merge it?
Almost, not yet, but there's a few things that I need to change. One of which being the HTTP webhook thing that we discussed.
Okay.
And I think
why don't you take it out, and so we can merge the module, and you make a different module/feature for that in PR.
We can do that for sure.
Not to block anything on that. That would be sad.
Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, it's very close to completion.
Okay.
It's a bit of refactoring. It would take me a couple of hours to finish it up.
Okay.
And there was one other minor thing, so all in all, half a day or so. So it's very close. So yeah, after that, there's no more work to be done, or nothing to be added for that's necessary for the first version. Share desktop. Yeah, so one small change that I made was adding 2 properties to a workflow definition. The single instance option lets you control how many instances can run at a given time. So it's either only one or many. And this is useful in certain scenarios. For example, when you add a cron timer to your workflow and you only ever want one instance to execute. But in other cases, maybe you do want multiples, but you can use this setting to control that. And then there's delete finished instances. So by default, currently, when a workflow has finished execution, that workflow instance will remain in the database, so you can inspect its execution and inspect other details about that workflow execution. But if you don't want that, you can check this box and it will automatically be deleted. Upon successful completion, when it fails, it will stay there. And maybe we can expand on those settings and policies. And maybe we should revert this. Maybe it should be deleted by default. And if you want to prevent it from being deleted, you need to check this checkbox. But I'm open for suggestions there.
That's good. Finish is not the correct word. Even more that you say only if they succeeded. So maybe delete succeeded instances or success instances or successful instances, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll change that word.
But that's fine. That's very nice. Like it.
Thank you. All right, so that's that. And then
workflow. Beautiful.
it's actually I would like to show you the this flow. So this is an actually functioning workflow, and what it does, and this is part of the discussion, is that right now this workflow starts with an action or with a task. So that's with this version, and we're going to change it again. But this allows you to generate a URL to this particular workflow definition that you can then use, and as you can see, it requires a token that it will generate for you.
Okay, so what type of activity is that, the start activity?
So this activity, it's a set property task, and what it allows you to do is set an arbitrary value in the workflow context. So in this case,
okay. So wait. Are you telling me that it won't be like this after your change, right?
It won't be. No, after this change, you will need a HTTP webhook or request.
Thank you.
Or
yeah, that's perfect. Exactly. Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but right now you can start this workflow using that URL, but we already discussed that we will make that URL generation part of the HTTP request event.
That's perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, so right now when you...
Oh, another question.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember if you made that. Can we have 2 startup activities?
Yep.
Okay, good. So like I could start the workflow from HTTP hook or a cron table, whatever comes first. Beautiful.
Yes. Yep.
And it could be singleton. So if something is running and the hook is coming, no, it's already started. So wait for it.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yep,
oh my God. See?
Yeah. Where was that? Oh yeah. Okay. So this URL, you can, when you trigger this one, it will invoke this workflow. So you can you copy this into GitHub webhook. So what I did for this demo, I created a, if I can, I created a little repository called Workflows Documentation. It's a fake repository, but the goal is to demonstrate the webhook story. So if I go to settings, there's a webhook setting. So what this allows you to do is that whenever something happens on your repository, you can invoke an arbitrary URL. So in this case, if I paste in that that generated workflow URL like this, and this will point to my local domain, my local host, I mean. and then I hit save.
So you see now the secret option and all these things. That's why I mentioned that at some point we'll need custom webhooks for GitHub and other services, because these custom webhooks will be able to validate that the sender is who he says he is.
Yeah, exactly. So you mean we need more specific activities that is specific to GitHub webhooks,
and that will help us to create these nice URLs and communication and expose properties and documentation about what you can do with the result and things like this. Or extract the properties automatically and put it in the data and things. Or
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Or even filters, like when you have the GitHub webhook, you could say only accept new issues or updated comments or updated PRs, things like this. So the webhook will not even trigger the workflow because it can understand what the request from GitHub was. It will make things much easier to create webhook-oriented workflows. But that's super nice because here is the full flexibility. Then okay, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. So this is more raw, but it allows you to use it for anything. But yeah, as you said, the more specific activities will be more user-friendly. But in this case, so we have that URL, and it will be invoked by GitHub whenever I change something in the repository. Well, in this case, I configured it such that it will only trigger when a wiki page has been updated. And what will happen then is that it will issue a post request to that provided URL, which will end up executing the workflow, and it will also post this payload. And this data we can then access from that workflow. So if we look at that workflow, the first thing it will do is set a property called page data, and that's a custom arbitrary property name that I just that I specified here. It can be anything you like. And the value, it's a JavaScript expression, and this expression will basically parse that posted, that HTTP body payload and parse it to a JSON object. And since that JSON contains a pages array, that's what I'm accessing here. So I'm accessing the first page of that thing, and that gives me, so this object here will then be part of the workflow context. So and that object will be stored in a thing called page data. So then the next thing will be checking the action, which is, again, is a property of this object. So there's an action thing here, and I'm specifically testing whether whether the action equals created, and if so, I will create a markdown page with a content type, send an email, and then await for a user action. So that email will contain an approval or reject link, or it will contain both, and then the user clicks either one, and then if the approved link is clicked, it will continue this workflow. So this is a long-running workflow.
So the signal, what is that right now? Is it an HTTP? Because it also should be an HTTP hook.
Well, it doesn't have to be, because what I'm doing here in the send email is generating a signal URL, which is it's a URL, but it will trigger a different controller. It will you could of course add another HTTP request handler, which is interesting because that would work. But this is more specific to generate a URL that contains a signal.
I don't think it's more specific. I think it's just an HTTP hook. It's just that you don't have this liquid filter with the HTTP hook, and maybe you should have.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually, because it's pretty much the same. And the HTTP thing is more flexible. This is more specific, but you don't need this.
But I understand what signal is because it was already in version 1.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this case, because you know you want HTTP hook, maybe you should just accept the HTTP hook. But that's fine. That's nice. That's okay. Just commenting.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, that's what this email body will do. So it will generate an approval link, and if that happens, if the user clicks that thing, and again, that signal URL is also protected with a token. It will resume the workflow, publish the content, show a success notification, and then redirect to the admin. So let's show this in action.
So publish. Wait. So the hook will go. That's nice that you have an HTTP redirect. I have always some difficulties to understand how it works. So I'm on the email, I click the link, so it goes on the site. The site is just a GET request to the signal, which will process publish content and success notification, and then you intercept the result and change it to a redirection to the admin. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have a filter, right?
No, not even. Because this email, it contains a link, and that will just.
But the HTTP redirect, how does it work? Does it update the current response of the HTTP?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So this workflow obviously would only work if it's resumed from a web browser, which is the case because of this send email thing, which sent a link to a.
Yeah, when I look at the code, I understand how it works. The HTTP redirect. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so if I go to my repository and go to wiki, just to show you, I have a local SMTP server, SMTP for dev, so good. We will see an email message appear here.
And I see they improved the UI. It used to be just a little notification on the bottom right.
Yeah, this is actually a web page, but it's hosted by, it's a .NET Core application, I think, but it's hosted locally.
That's nice.
Okay, so create a new page, call this article 10. So now we'll save this page. And then we see that the workflow has executed because we received a email with the title of the created page, a URL to that created wiki article, and a link to approve. Before I click that, I will show you that if I refresh this, we will see there's one instance. It's a pending instance of this workflow, which we can inspect, and we can see that it's halted here at this activity. And one idea that I have is to actually show the executed path when you because they can't. No, not right now. Don't worry. It will be a future update and improvement if people like it. It's a suggestion still. But that's just an idea. But so you see the thing halted here. So when we go to that email, and then before I click that, I want to also show you that the content's been created here, and it's in draft.
Oh my god, that so many scenarios. Like just this one is awesome. Letting people editing their wiki and it shows on the website. I mean, that's huge.
It's pretty powerful, yeah. And easy to do, easy to implement with this set of things already. So now I click this thing here, and we see it has been approved. And if we go to content, we see that it's actually published. And also, well, since I so it's finished, but and as you can see, it persisted the workflow instance, but it would have been deleted if I changed that option that I showed earlier.
Oh my god, we should Bertrand, you should show it to Emo. Maybe we'll use Orchard and not WordPress. He wants this workflow. I wanted to talk about widgets and what we do with it today. So, widgets, actually it's not about widgets I want to talk about, it's layers, but they are related. So layers is a way to define rules, predicates that will trigger a set of widgets to be displayed or not in specific zones that are defined in the current layout, and that's super flexible to inject content in specific pages or based on specific rules. One of the issues with that is that it's slower because JavaScript rules have to be interpreted. I know that George mentioned that on one stop it was one of the slowest thing in the website. The thing that will slow down their websites. And the other issue is that sometimes you don't really understand how some widgets appear in specific zones, because two layers at the same time can render something, and also maybe order to understand why a widget is in. And I thought about what we could do to make things simpler. And to make things simpler, we should just let people know that they don't have to use layers. So layers is very nice to do things, but if you suffer from that and you don't, and it's a showstopper for you, maybe you should just use not layers and make something like a bag of widgets. I don't know how to call it. Okay. Maybe it should be a custom content type, maybe something we can provide, but I don't think we need to provide that. It's just dynamic content that can contain some specific things, or we have to see. And let's say a bag of widgets is actually a back part that can contain specific widgets. Okay, so a back part with specific widgets. What is a back part? Or a flow part with specific widget, a black part or a part with specific widgets. Then and an alias. Okay, so you could say my right section. Okay, and this way you actually reified the layer slash section. So it's like, okay, my right section, or for blogs. Okay, blog post, to be more specific, blog post. So if you have something named like this in your content tree, where you can navigate all your bag of widgets or sections, or let's call it a section, maybe. Not maybe a section, but I don't know. A list. So then it's named. It has a list of widgets with their parameters. You can reorder them, you can edit them, it can be a mix of queries or custom content, whatever you want. And then the idea is that from the templates, you just say inject here my right section for blog post. So this way there is no filter to execute, and we can cache it as we want, because so from template inject my right section, blah, blah, blah. And that's super fast. It can be cached based on whatever you want, the custom URL, if it depends on custom URL or some duration or whatever we want. Can be cached, a single query to load the content. If it's not cached, no JS to run. And then it's very obvious when you're in a template that, okay, this is what will be rendered. And you can, even if you need some rules to match a section or not a section, like that could be my right section for blog post and my right section for recent blog post. Like you could display two different sets of things based on what you're currently displaying. And you have access to the current blog post also if you need to customize things. So I think that it's not a feature to do, it's just some documentation to explain that it's doable. So if people don't like layers, they should be able to, or maybe they should start with that, and if they want more complex things to mix sections based on different contexts, then they can use layers. I think that will be sufficient in many websites and accelerate how the websites behave. Even the current website we have today, like we have on the agency, we don't have a widget, I think, but on the blog on the blog theme, we have a widget at the bottom to render the copyright and the social links. And if we just replaced it by a global widget or a global widget instance, and just say render the widget named copyright, then that will improve the default perf without costing much in terms of usability. And I would say it might be even easier to understand where the copyright is if it's a content item, it's correctly organized in a content tree, than the layers in the widgets. Just an idea. Does it make sense? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Other ideas? Just be about creating an article or documentation about this technique. When we tell people how to build websites, that will be easier, I think. to understand and faster to for the website to run by a significant margin. Good. That's it. All I wanted to say. You don't have opinions, that's fine. Questions, comments before we close the meeting? It's 2 minutes. Perfect, on time. Thanks. Finger crossed, Bertrand. Okay. Because you also want to send your car on Mars, right? Well, first you need your car to arrive on Earth because it's not yet there, and then maybe send it off.
Bertrand already has one. His Model 3, right?
No, I don't think so. Do you have?
Oh, I thought
nobody
I
has.
dreamt it.
Nobody has.
Oh, okay.
What?
All-wheel drive.
What, do they do that?
Yeah. Well, not yet, but they intend to.
Or the new SUV maybe they will create after the Model X?
No. The Model 3 will have AWD.
Yeah, that's what the I'm lost
Good.
between Model 3 and Model X. Okay.
And Model X is the SUV version or type.
What? You have an X coming? Oh my God! You have more cars than people in the house.
It's great if you have a family, so it would be you would like one, Sebastian.
I have a family. I have a Honda.
Yeah, you need the X.
I have an AWD. I can't afford an X. I bought a kitchen last summer, so I can't buy a car anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, you need a kitchen too to feed the family.
Correct. To please my wife. Thanks everyone. See you next week. Bye bye.